Good evening. Tonight, the atheist and the Muslim. You couldn't call it an interfaith dialogue, but it may just change the way you think about the radicalisation of young Muslims.
Islam has not had a proper collision with modernity and secularism and science the way Christianity has.
Islamism, this ideology I refer to, must be intellectually terminated, whereas Islam, the religion, simply must be reformed to adjust to modernity, and that's something we've had for centuries, known by Muslims as the process of ijtihad, or reinterpretation of the scripture.
Well, a very different program tonight. We'll devote most of it to a dialogue between two men who began on opposite sides of the great debate on religion and ended up working together on a project to reform Islam. Sam Harris and Maajid Nawaz are the co-authors of a new book called Islam and the Future of Tolerance. Well, despite their differences, they share disgust at the way in which extremists resort to sacred Islamic texts to justify medieval brutality, such as the beheadings, the torture, sexual slavery and rape, which are routinely celebrated in Islamic State propaganda. But in the expanding chamber of jihadist horrors, one incident last year plumbed fresh depths of depravity. On the 16th of December, a Taliban force attacked a school in Peshawar, Pakistan. They murdered 151 people, including a teacher, burned alive in front of her pupils. But most of the dead were children. In an online conversation soon after the massacre, a Taliban supporter is reported to have said of those students, "We did not end their lives, we gave them new ones in paradise." The use of a distorted version of Islamic beliefs about paradise to justify the slaughter of innocents is at the extreme end of the debate, but it's an indication of what's at stake. In a moment, we'll hear from Harris and Nawaz. First, to Lateline's Jason Om.
There are 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, but the actions of extremists have made Islam the most scrutinised faith of our time. From Al-Qaeda to the Taliban to the brutality of Islamic State, the war on terror has spread from Middle Eastern battlefields to Western cities.
Now, I've often heard Western leaders describe Islam as a religion of peace. I wish more Muslim leaders would say that more often and mean it.
As the West struggles to contain the homegrown threat of jihadists, some provocateurs argue that Islam itself is to blame.
Are you on some sort of global jihad against Islam?
Well, indeed, I'm more on a global jihad to preserve our freedom. I believe that even though I have nothing against the people or Muslims or anybody for that reason, I believe that Islam and freedom are incompatible.
Some former Muslims, like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, tend to agree. She's been calling for an Islamic reformation.
There are more occurrences of violence and war and strife and subjection of women than there are in other religions.
In this debate in 2010, Ayaan Hirsi Ali clashed with Muslim intellectual and one-time Islamist radical Maajid Nawaz.
You just quoted a hadith of the Prophet, and you actually really did exaggerate what he said. And I'll quote you the exact hadith in Arabic and then translate it. Now, what you quoted was, well, the hadith is أمرت أن أقاتل الناس حتى أمرت أن أقاتل الناس حتى يشهدوا أن لا إله إلا الله. Now, what you quoted and in the translation was kill and maim, and you went on and explained. Now, actually, أقاتل means to fight. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good hadith. What I'm